I am standing on the shoulders of the giants. So I'm
Oh,
taller, or I
yes.
am able to do things because I'm built on top of somebody else's hard work, and someone else gave me the opportunity and the learning and knowledge, and every single opportunity I see.
Hey, welcome back to the Work Positive Podcast. I'm Dr. Joey Fawcett, coaching you to grow people and profits because you know it's the same thing, right? So the common conversation today, or maybe I really should call it a raging debate, is over AI replacing people. And we people leaders sit at that intersection of decision making. So often it's an us versus them mentality. But what if you could create a people first technology that scales for high performance teams on the foundation of an AI system that strengthens rather than replaces human connection? Too good to be true? Well, that's exactly what my guest on this episode is doing as Director of Engineering at Lyft. He leads the engineering groups responsible for real-time decision systems that support millions of riders and drivers. His work centers on creating environments where teams thrive under pressure, develop resilience, and innovate sustainably. He prioritizes things that you and I love: empathy, psychological safety, long-term growth, and he champions AI as a force for equity and leadership, something that can democratize mentorship, surface areas for growth, and help we leaders create healthier, more effective teams. So let's discover how he creates technology and uses that to grow a work positive culture that grows people and profits on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. Work Positive community, it gives me so much pleasure to introduce you to someone who is absolutely brilliant and beautiful in his own soul. Bala Muthiah is here on the podcast today. Bala, welcome to the Work Positive Podcast.
Thank you. Thanks a lot. I'm really happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
I am too. And we should say right off the top here that while you are Director of Engineering at Lyft, which by the way is my preferred company, not that other one. The views, the opinions that are expressed today are your own. They belong to
Yes.
Bala Muthiah and not to Lyft, even though they have a great deal of influence on the culture of Lyft, I'm sure, and you reflect
Yes.
that culture. And that's, of course, what we're all about. So, Bala, one of the things that impressed you, one of the reasons I really wanted you to come on the Work Positive podcast to be my guest, is it's rare to find someone who operates at least in my experience as a people leader, it's rare to find someone who operates at such a high level, like Director of Engineering at Lyft, who also understands, appreciates, and creates for empathy and emotional intelligence and the kinds of things that we here in the Work Positive community hold so dear. That makes you a superhero, in my opinion, Bala. So, how did this dual track become one track for you and the incredible man we know as Bala Muthiah?
Oh, that superhero is a very big term. I think, of course, I can say maybe I'll work towards living up to that.
Oh,
But
yeah.
looking back, I would say the biggest is not one thing. Is like I'm from India. I moved to United States in 2009. But
Okay.
growing up in India, the biggest factor I would say that shaped or influenced my growth or my learning is community, people
Ah,
around me,
mm,
right from your home, right? Mom and dad, starting from there, then kind of expanding to your neighbors and then
mm,
your extended families. And the community is what that really shaped me and made me who I am. So
mm.
when I say this, I always say I am standing on the shoulders of the giants. So I'm
Oh,
taller, or I
yes.
am able to do things because I'm built on top of somebody else's hard work, and someone
Mm,
else gave me the opportunity and the learning and knowledge, and every single opportunity I see.
mm,
I A friend of mine recently shared this thing. Yes, respect the opportunity,
mm,
right? Anything that you get, like respect. I would say that that teaching or that culture is what helped me
mm.
stay. And when I, of course, engineering is a very heads down, go solve problems.
Yeah.
Usually, engineers are not very known for people skills. Okay, like two
Yeah.
different,
Analytical over here and
very
over
analytical, very
here.
exactly. But to me, I think when these two comes together, you really unlock. You become a better engineer. You become a better person. Like it's a collective uh, gain. Like both benefit from each other, and I
Mhm.
thought that is this formula. Like that's the one I should keep to,
Yeah.
and
There
got
really
me
is
where I
a
am.
there really is a mutual benefit, right, between
Yes.
the two. And so often we polarize, depending on which side of the equation you're on, even demonize, right?
Yes.
Into this us versus them mentality. Man, I so appreciate because I see myself standing on the shoulders of giants also, and I can track back in my family who influenced me in this way and things like that. So, and who in my community, extended family, because blood is not always a guarantor of family, right? There are mentors in our lives. So, who are some of those people, regardless of whether it was biological or adopted? Who were some of those people that really influenced you?
First is of course my mom. Like that's my, I would say, mom played a huge role. And
Mm.
then dad, like they both taught me two different things, very different things. Almost sometimes I even wonder, how are these two people married? Like they're so different, but they're happily married
Very different,
and
were
till
they? Yeah.
date. I know, but they taught me those things, right? Then extended families like uncles and those are people who are serving as a mentor. I had an uncle who served as a mentor from day one. So that's
Wow.
my first exposure to mentorship, right? When I was young. Okay, what are the things to do, books to read,
Hmm.
how to think, and that continued on, of course, getting into work. Mm, it's, I should say, females played a huge role in my life.
Hmm.
Women leaders played a huge role. Like I am not here without them. My
Hmm.
first mentor was a female, and then I
Uh,
changed jobs even recently. Like
uh-huh.
lived for a while now, but manager, pretty much those all people like kind of incrementally did. But the biggest credit now goes to my wife, of course. I would say you asked about superpower. I would say
Yeah.
she's the one who really maybe made me look into that and what it is and helped me. I've known her for years now, like,
Uh-huh.
and I would say she's the one who helped me unlock, oh, what that power is, and I believe in myself, and oh, I can do this.
Hmm.
So community, of course, I keep talking about community a lot because I,
Yeah.
again, it is nobody is individual. Like no one is successful without. It takes a village for everything in this world.
Yeah, well, it took a metropolitan city for me, so
Yes,
far more than a
yes,
village. But
100%.
I love the timeline there because you note the complementarity in your mom and dad's relationship, which opposites really do attract. Sometimes they attack after a
Yeah,
few years.
true.
Not that I would know anything about that after 43 years of marriage to the same woman. But, and then you bring it from childhood right on up to today, being married yourself. I love that. I think to be able to look back over both shoulders and see how we were guided to where we are today by people, and by forces beyond my ability to comprehend, maybe yours too. But that's amazing. Now, was it an expectation that you become an engineer as you grew up? I mean, were there some of those people in your community who were engineers? Because I know India turns out more engineers than we do here in the U.S.
Yes,
Year after year after
yes.
year. So I'm not going to say it's common, but I mean, was it expected? Were you stereotyped into an engineer?
I should say yes because it is not like oh nobody was engineer before me. Like again, talking about shoulders, right?
Yeah.
Like my mom's side, all the folks, like my cousins before me, they all got into engineering. So even like before even I knew what engineering was, my maternal grandfather would say, "Oh, my dream is to make all of my grandkids engineers." Like I had no idea what engineers means. Like this is like 5 year old, 6 year old, but
Uh,
somehow the good thing is my mom and dad never forced me or my sister to do that. They never said
okay.
that, but it somehow maybe they know that it's subconsciously already planted. Like,
Yeah.
hey, you have to be this. And of course, I was very privileged to be in a place where I had access to education. Things were happening
Yeah.
in a way that I was able to go through the journey. It's not out of my own merit. Oh, I did it all. It's I was in the right place at the right time, had the right opportunity, people
Mm.
supported, and then it pushed me, and that's how I got into engineering. But also the curiosity mindset, I should say, that comes from my mom. My mom,
Mm.
by nature, when something is, let's say, not working at home, or so, like a lamp is broken, a fan is not working, she would go and wire it up and do something. She's a
Wow.
chemist by profession, but nothing to do
Really?
with those things. So I
Oh.
remember little things like that.
Uh,
Oh, okay, we can fix it.
uh-huh.
Okay, that the we can fix it is that mindset, I think, pushed me
Uh-huh.
into engineering and continue to enjoy the engineering. Like even though I was, let's say, by school engineer, but to continue that, you need to have something within.
Hmm.
So that is, I would say, comes from that childhood days of, okay, let's fix it.
I love it. Let's fix it. Boy, that's such a positive affirmation and really powerful, that we're empowered to take action right here,
Yes.
and we can fix something that's broken. So where was the inflection point for you to understand that technology could strengthen the human connection? Because that's not something they teach in engineering school, I don't think.
Yes, I wish. I wish they put that as a curriculum.
Yeah,
Uh,
really. But there must have been an inflection point, a
yeah,
moment when you can look back and say, wow, there it was when I pivoted.
yeah. I should, like, going into. I've been thinking about this too. Like, hey, what happened? When did I do
Uh-huh.
this?
Hmm.
I've always resorted to what happened within work, but then the more I think, it is deeper in college days, like in especially when I was
Okay.
doing my junior year, like the third year in India.
Uh-huh.
There was a class where the professor was very, very, I would say, unique. Till then, I'm trying to find and locate him to go connect. Like I couldn't because lost contact, and it's not like, oh, we all had LinkedIn and phone number those days to stay as a friend.
Oh,
So I was not. I would say I would. I was not a. I was a B plus or maybe a student B plus. But during in the class, I would not be quiet. I was like making all kind of disturbances to the teacher, right?
mm-hmm.
So, but in this specific professor, instead of uh, like what do you say? Instead of like being rigid or strict or
Okay.
doing any corrective action, they said, "Hey,
Uh-huh.
you know what? I'm going to give you freedom to do what you want in this time. You
Mm.
don't even have to come up because you are going to pick up and complete what is needed for the course. But if you're in the class, you are disturbing other people." So I was like, nobody never ever told me. So first
Okay.
few times I went and like me and this is my me and group of friends at that time. Like you'd go and play during the time and then come back. And then it made me realize, you never said not to do anything. You never said how to do anything. You just said, okay, be connected the dots and then let me go. And then I came back to the class regularly and was okay, be a good student and sit inside the class, right?
Ah.
I would say that's what my inflection point. Okay, if you really talk to the people inside, you can really achieve what you want and get them to achieve what they
Mhm.
want. That
Mhm.
sat with me, resonated with me a lot, and then
Mhm.
carried through my journey into people and why talking to the people behind is important.
Mm. Mm. Boy, that's one of the great joys of teaching is that you
Yes,
multiply such
100%. Yeah.
yeah, such opportunities and really get to watch and prompt that transformation within students. I love that. That is amazing. So, what attracted you, Bala, to the culture at Lyft?
The people mindset, right? You talked about teaching. That's also one of the inflection points why I
Oh,
became a manager from
uh-huh,
an individual engineer, right?
uh-huh.
This was 10 years ago in Silicon Valley, one of the public schools, not very well funded, but they had a lot of, they were very close to YouTube office. So they would get a lot of computers from the Google, like YouTube,
Mm-hmm,
that was no longer latest to the employees, but really an out of class for a public school elementary. So they
mm-hmm,
donated a lot of notebooks. I went to a school once to do a volunteering,
mm-hmm,
and that's when the principal asked, "Oh, we have all of these laptops, but we don't have teachers to teach because the teachers there are, I would say, underpaid and they're not with the right skills."
mm,
Then I told them, I can come and do this. So I did Wednesdays, Fridays, like for 2 years,
wow.
morning 8 to 9:30.
Mm-hmm,
That gave me the change to, oh, I want to be a manager. And that's the culture aspect. Like what brought me to Lyft is, oh, now I see, like you mentioned, seeing people grow, seeing people achieve something,
Mm.
and putting people first. And I heard about Lyft about from a brand we know. Then so I knew someone who I used to manage, and they were an intern. When I was looking, that's how I got connected.
Uh-huh.
And to me, that piece of, oh, what if I can do this for a living, right? Be an engineer, be a manager, leader, and then put culture and people first. Okay, this is all the three things matching. Like this is where
Mhm.
I want to be.
Wow. So your personal mission aligned with the Lyft culture,
Yes,
organizational mission.
100%.
Wow. And boy, that's nirvana right there, right? When
Yes,
you as an individual find expression of your individual mission right there in the corporate mission.
yes,
So it almost sounds too good to be true that we've got someone in the AI space who appreciates empathy and emotional intelligence and talks about community so much. Um, let's say we want that in our company, and I'm a people leader and I'm trying to create that kind of culture. How do I talk about that to attract people like you, Bala, into my company?
yeah, great. One of the things, it is a complex thing, right? Like very hard now, especially with
Mhm.
AI coming into picture when you are assessing skills in a very different way. If you have attended an interview with me, like if I've interviewed people, like one, I always have this one question in the end. I tell that interview is a two-way street, right? It's not just the interviewer asking the candidate. It also has to be the other way around. I compare this as a uh, how like a home buying opportunity. Let's say you are go to like open house, you go buy something. Before even
Mhm.
you go, they are gonna check everything, right? Or you have a credit score, you are financially good, able to
Sure.
afford, able to make the loan payment and stuff.
Right.
That's the interview process actually. Like you were verifying a candidate skill is there or not and everything. But most often than not, if you look at the home buying process, the buyer also has to like the house. Buyer has to know what's inside the house, what
Hmm.
how the water is going to flow, how the roof is, and everything. So I open that, I give that as an example and ask the candidate. Now you ask me what do you want to know about the company,
Mm.
because I don't want you to buy this offer technically,
Hmm.
like come into this company without knowing what it is.
Hmm.
And that has, I would say, uh, helped me attract the right people. Those questions will really show up for me. Okay, what kind of questions? What really motivates them? What is their
Mm.
incentive? Why are
Hmm.
they looking for a change and what are they going to do? And
Right.
what are they capable for?
Hmm.
Instead of me asking questions, you just let them ask the questions. That will give you so much insights,
Into who they
right?
are by their
Who they are.
questions, right? Hmm.
Exactly.
Hmm.
And that will also help them, right, to match and see if it's a good thing.
Hmm.
So to attract that, talking about your culture all day is not going to help. Every company is going to say this is a great place to work for. There are like 100 awards, right?
They'll lie to
100
you about
awards
other
for that.
things too, won't they?
Yes. Yeah. So it's being more open, I would say, and then let them come into your house, look at your kitchen, and like have a
Mhm.
conversation. Like I've had
Mhm.
many coffee chats without even giving
Yeah,
an offer in the end.
yeah.
Those things really help me. This is where I again believe strongly in the human connection.
Mm.
That is important. Like you need to know, oh, I can work with this person and they can work with me
Right.
and the team and the company.
Yeah, and top talent is top talent for a reason, right? They
Exactly.
become the top evaluators of company cultures and understand the importance of the alignment of personal mission and
Yes.
corporate mission. So, Bala, what do you do? Let's say you've attracted some top talent to your department. You're the director of engineering at Lyft, so you've attracted that top talent. What are some things that you do to retain that top talent at Lyft?
The simple or the easiest thing I would say is keep the door open, right? Meaning someone told me this a while ago. I don't know where I read this. Like for a leader or when I was becoming a manager, this was some sentence. It said, train your team so they can live anywhere, but take care of them so they won't.
Ah,
So that really sat with me. Like when I have the people in the team, the first thing is whether, hey, are they growing enough? If it's always about what are you doing here that is going to help you in your next job? Nobody
Mm,
is going to be in a job in a company forever these days.
yeah,
My dad worked for the same company throughout his life, like 40
yeah,
plus
yeah.
years.
That's
My
gone.
granddad was the same. That's gone, right?
Yeah, right.
And it is not a bad thing, right? It's good, like because things are moving so fast. People should do that,
Yeah.
and you have to show them, hey, you do this here, and this is going to help you get your next job or make you land in your next job that's even better.
Mm,
So do that, and that will definitely change people's mindset. And another thing is being vulnerable. Like I think the first thing about culture I would always think about is vulnerability. Like if you are vulnerable, that means you're going to be more open about
mm,
your gaps, your
mm,
things that you cannot do, or that's not going to work. This is what it is.
mhm.
Being vulnerable as a leader, as a team member, that will make it more good. Like everyone wants to be in that environment.
Yeah. So what's the reaction of some of your team members? Because I mean, you're hiring a lot of engineers, right? And you're being vulnerable. I mean, that's
Yes.
kind of an oil and water combination right there. How do they react to that?
So initially, it was hard for me to even do this, right? Like back in the
Okay.
days, like, hey, because when I grew up, when I started in the workforce, this was 20 years ago, leadership was very different.
Yeah, you're
Leadership
supposed to
is
have
a
all the answers, right?
exactly know it all, right? They would know, and it's more like do it because I told you so kind of mindset,
Command
right?
and control. Yep.
Yeah. And then slowly technology actually democratized that because people can now have access to data within the company. They can make better decisions. It's
They
not
don't
an industry
need.
where only the top room or the corner office has the
Mhm.
data.
That's right.
So it was hard to open up first back in the days. But then once I did, I thought, oh, people are much more closer. They are telling you things that you would not otherwise even have an opportunity to know about. Like we can send 100 surveys, but nothing
Yes,
beats a coffee walk with your team member
that's
that's so
right.
rich in information, reactions. That is, people really like now the world or the community has done a good job in terms of making vulnerable leaders as a good thing. Like
Mm,
vulnerability is one of the top traits now. Empathy and vulnerabilities
right.
considered as one of the top traits, and new generation likes that more. They want
Hmm.
us to be more. It's
Hmm.
the same in parenting too, right? Like I'm not a parent myself, but I see this in parenting when how
Uh-huh.
my granddad treated my dad, how he treated me, and let's say
Uh-huh.
how my friends treat their kids. It's very different. Oh, you can't just say eat a broccoli. You need to explain why
Uh,
it is important to eat a broccoli,
yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So that's the same thing in this to like being vulnerable and saying, "Oh, I cannot figure this out. Let's do this together." That is changing the game.
That's an excellent application around family and community. As you said that, I just realized our daughters are in their mid to late 30s, and one of them has two daughters, and one of
Hmm.
those is a 6-year-old. And I just recognized how different I am as pops with that 6-year-old than I was
Exactly.
with her mom, right?
Exactly.
Because there were
Exactly.
some times when I said, "Do it because I said so,"
Yes. Yes.
and more than not, I suspect. But I don't do
Yes.
that with the 6-year-old. I'm like, "Well, what do you think?" I mean, that's
Yes.
typically what I do is I flip the question back around, and then when she asks me a question, I'll answer it from time to time, and she'll even look at me, Bala, and say, "How do you know so much?" And
Ah, yes.
that becomes the opportunity to say, "Well, I paid
Exactly.
attention in school. I'm curious like you, and I just continued learning." So I love that application because there's no division between our professional and personal selves, right?
Yes.
We are who we are, whether it's as director of engineering at Lyft or you're home with your amazing wife. You are Bala. And
Yeah.
let me ask you a question. What if the key to growing your work culture hides in plain sight? Take the free Work Positive Culture Assessment to discover it. Get insights in less than 4 minutes that transform your culture so you grow people and profits. You just answer 13 simple questions and discover your culture stage, strengths, and personalized next steps. Get your free aha culture moment at workpositive.today. Go to workpositive.today right now. Bala Mathia is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. I know Work Positive community, you're as intrigued as I am with Bala, and so you're going to want to reach out to him. We've got his LinkedIn profile URL in the show notes. So regardless of whether you're out having a coffee walk or whether you're walking the dog or you're on the
Mm.
Peloton, just know that it's there in the show notes waiting for you. So go there and send Bala a message and get to know him even better. And again, what we're talking about today certainly is reflective of the Lyft culture, but this is the way Bala interprets culture and the way he does culture. So these views expressed are his own. What are some of the challenges that you see, Bala, for people leaders creating the kind of, I call it a work positive culture that we're talking about here today?
The challenges it is evolving as we speak, right? Like from the day what people wanted to do through like as everything changes. Like of course, COVID and remote work
Mm,
made certain things easier, but certain things harder. Like
yes.
culture is one of the things that really, I would say, got the short end of the deal in that thing. It's not that you cannot successfully work remotely, but it's more about the culture and the belonging. Creating that is, I would say, it is not impossible, but it's hard. You have to be intentional. You have to make an effort to make that happen. It's
Mm,
not going to be natural. As a leader, we talked about coffee walks. It's very easy to go talk to someone in your team who's sitting next to you and hey, let's go
yeah,
for a
a
walk,
lot easier to have that
right?
coffee
And
walk in person.
meeting after the meetings, right? We talk about this. We finish
Mm,
a meeting and then we walk out of the meeting room and then we walk towards our desks. Even though if it was a hard, like let's say, hot conversation, walking out, you can say, hey, by the way, you know what? Like, I think we can figure this out together. Let's see, let's go. But
yeah,
with Zoom and Google Meets, you just click the red button and then you exit. That's a psychological thing to
it
think
really
about,
is.
right?
Yeah,
You're
it
like kind of
is.
ending something. In
You
real world
are.
meetings, don't end like that. You don't just
No, they
say
don't.
snap.
And I
Yeah,
love that point you're making there because in my experience and in the experience of other people leaders with whom I've had the opportunity to coach, the real meeting happens after the meeting.
after. Exactly,
That's
exactly.
when maybe the gloves come off or the true opinions or transparency comes out or a new idea pops in and you say, "Hey, I didn't think about this in the room, but I'm thinking about this here." So how do you do that on Teams? I mean, what do you do? Send a Slack message or something afterwards?
Yeah,
I don't know.
yeah. It's very hard, right? Like that's talking about challenges of creating. Like these are the hard
Hmm.
challenges. It's not unsolvable. Like that is where we need to have things where we are more open about certain conversations and like how we structure meetings. We have somehow, I still do not know who invented 30 minutes meeting blocks, 60 minutes meeting block. Why should it be 30 minutes? Is
Yeah.
there a human psychological thing that it is 30 minutes? No. We have these weird things. We need to do 30 minutes. Otherwise, it's start a meeting 5 minutes late, right? Like instead of, I do this literally. Like I started, let's say instead of starting at 9, I started 9:05 and we
Mm-hmm.
just do 25 minutes.
Mm-hmm.
And why, how does it matter to culture? Is because it gives you time. You are not jumping from meeting to meeting. You have
Thank
some
you.
time to breathe,
Yeah.
reflect. Oh, did I say that
Breathing.
right?
Yes.
Oh, did I react right? You need that break,
Mm-hmm.
right? In real, I go to office mostly all the days I can
Yeah.
because when I go and take meetings, it's oh, I go to a meeting room and then I walk to another meeting room. There is a gap like that.
Yes.
Your mind needs that thing.
Time to
So
walk. Yeah.
culture is in these little things and how you, because nowadays work is not the number one priority for people, which is completely right thing to do, right? Like individuals, you should, there are bigger things to go after, like coming back to community.
Mm.
Need to develop your community and not just work for your employer and then like kind of
Right.
put everything there.
Mm-hmm.
And that is culture, like bringing those aspects, bringing your elements into that. Like, hey,
Mm-hmm.
who are you? You talked about this. Who are you outside of this role? How are
Mm-hmm.
you bringing that to work? Those are
Mm.
cultures. And
Mm-hmm.
leaders play a huge role in creating and showing and being an example there.
Yeah, one of the great challenges today is to intentionally define culture and to
Yes.
do it in physical proximity as well as in what I call a Marco Polo culture, right? A
Yeah.
distributed culture. So, yeah, that is a great challenge for all of us. Bala Muthaya is my guest on this episode of the Work Positive Podcast. As I mentioned a moment ago, his LinkedIn profile is in the show notes. Also, his website, balamuthaya.com, is there, so be sure to click on that. When we go to your website, Bala, what are we going to discover?
Mm. you discover a lot of ramblings from me in the form of a blog post, and also linked some of my podcast appearances, like looking forward to putting this one there.
Yeah, thanks.
And definitely my email and contact to reach out.
Okay.
I love talking to people because I'm selfish and I want to learn. And the best way to learn is not by books, but talking to people. Like just a 30-minute conversation will trigger so many things in your mind versus reading any amount of books or watching tutorials and stuff. So love to connect with people, primarily to learn.
That's amazing. I love it, and I so agree. I'm selfish too, and that may be why I started the Work Positive podcast. And we're approaching 200 episodes now because I am so much better for meeting people like you, and I've learned so much and discovered so much, not only about myself but about others and how to grow people and profits, as we say in the Work Positive community. So Work Positive community always wants to know, so I've got to ask you, Bala, always wants to know about one thing they can do today. So what is your recommendation, your dot, if you will, do one thing to the Work Positive community that they could start doing today to create the kind of work positive culture we're talking about?
Maybe I'm going to cheat here and give two things.
An engineer who can't count. Imagine that.
I know, can't have enough. Yeah. So the do one thing, like the one thing I would say is just simple, like regardless of where you work, who you work with, or at home, whatever, right? When you ask someone, how are you? When they tell I'm good, then don't just stop there. Ask, tell me more, right? Like, ask them, tell me more. That opens up a lot. Like many times we ask people, how are you? And then they say, I'm good. And then you walk away. Or probably you just ask the question and walk away, not even listening. When they tell you good, I would say, ask them, oh, tell me more. Like be curious about them. That will give you more insights. That will give you a better relationship with them. So that's the first one. And the second one, the bonus or the credit, I would say is, this is a sentence I've been thinking about a lot. It's give before you take. This is something I want all of us in the community, in the world to do. Imagine if you can give before you take, the world will be a much better place. It's very simple. Like whether you're talking, building a relationship, always give first before you take anything from that relationship. That will make the whole thing better. And then people are going to come to you. Imagine that you are one person, right? You are going to give before you take, but there are 10 people who are going to come to you and give. So mathematically, you are actually getting more than you are giving. So give before you take.
I love it. Well, okay, I'm glad you gave two. That's amazing. That second one, you're right. We would totally transform the world, and we would all not only work positive, we would live positive then, right?
Yes.
With that first one, it seems like it's just become such a euphemism. Hey, how are you? I'm good. But just pausing a moment, and if you hear some hesitation in that, I'm good, really, you don't sound very good. What's going on? Or just saying, what's good? Then they can tell you they got to spend time with their 6-year-old granddaughter, right? Or something like that. That's beautiful. I love both of those. Bala Muthiah has been my guest on this episode of the Work Positive podcast. I know Work Positive community, you're as enchanted with him as I am. So go to his LinkedIn profile, which is in the show notes. Also, go read some of his blogs over at balamuthiah.com. That's in the show notes as well. And thank you so much for sharing who you are and how you serve as the Director of Engineering at Lyft. I thank you. I'm better for this conversation. Thank you for your time and wisdom today, Bala.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was really great talking to you.
I'm so grateful you joined our conversation about creating positive work cultures that grow people and profits. Connect with me directly on LinkedIn today. Just search for Dr. Joey Fawcett, or you can click the link in your show notes. When you send your connection request, mention you're a Work Positive podcast listener, because I want to give you a free digital copy of my Work Positive Team Edition book. It's a $19.95 value, but I want to share it with you free because it contains practical strategies that I personally use with clients to transform toxic work environments into thriving cultures. We explore in that book how to create a positive work culture, and we do so again in every episode of this podcast. Our LinkedIn connection allows you and me to directly talk about your specific challenges, so feel free to send me a message on LinkedIn. I personally read and respond to all those messages because I genuinely care about your work positive success. So go to LinkedIn and let's connect. Remember to mention you're a podcast listener to receive your free Work Positive Team Edition book. I look forward to seeing you on our next episode of the Work Positive Podcast.